Well, the item that he discovered external to his situation was completely appropriate when utilized in the way that it was meant to be used.
Hey everybody, in this video, we want to talk to you about the best ways to master, to really get good at Ericksonian hypnotic language.
Right.
Now, we have to start. First of all, I'm Chris Thompson, the CEO of Mike Mandel Hypnosis. This is the man, the myth, the legend, the name behind Mike Mandel Hypnosis. He's Mike Mandel. Awesome.
Hello, children.
Hypnosis trainer. I learned pretty much everything I know about Ericksonian hypnosis from you, Mike.
Thank you, Chris.
What the heck is Ericksonian hypnotic language, and why would someone want to learn it?
Well, first of all, the whole concept of Ericksonian language comes from Milton H. Erickson, who we believe, in our opinion, was the greatest hypnotherapist who ever lived. A psychiatrist, a medical doctor, obviously, because you have to be a psychiatrist. And Erickson was an amazing researcher. He looked into hypnosis for years. He did very direct hypnosis at first, but he began to figure out different ways of doing hypnosis that were much more subtle and almost undetectable. Storytelling, using different kinds of word patterns. And Bandler and Grinder came along and they quantified and looked at all Erickson's stuff and figured out how it could be taught to other people. That became Ericksonian language. Milton Erickson didn't do Ericksonian hypnosis. He just hypnotized people. But Ericksonian hypnosis and the language from it comes from him, and it's broken down so that we can also do it.
Okay, awesome. So, and where would you want to use Ericksonian hypnotic language?
It's wide open. If you're a hypnotherapist, you can use this with your clients. You can mix it with direct hypnosis, go back and forth with embedded commands and all these things. Or you can use it in casual settings. If you're just talking to someone, you can slip into this, in which case you're then doing covert Ericksonian language.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was going to be my next point. So Erickson's work fits into, well, first of all, Erickson did lots of direct stuff too, but he's well known for being the founder or original father of what we call conversational hypnosis. Now, when you're doing conversational hypnosis without disclosing that you're using hypnotic techniques, and I'm not talking about mind control here or any weird stuff. I'm talking about getting people to be, we'll talk about the principles in a moment, but getting people to be genuinely interested, driving their emotions inside, solving problems, unlocking
helping them
resources.
become more resourceful, yes.
If you do that without disclosing it, you're doing covert hypnosis. Otherwise, if you're doing it to a client who has come to you for hypnosis, it's conversational hypnosis, which can segue into direct hypnosis and back and forth.
Right.
Lots of opportunities. So we should probably now teach what are these main principles.
Some of the components.
Because where we're going is, let me make sure it's clear for everyone. We're going to talk to you and show you the main principles that you need to understand about hypnotic language patterns and hypnotic language structure. Then we're going to teach you the best ways to actually learn it.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's start with some of the components. And one of the main ones that Milton was known for was being artfully vague. Now, artfully vague is the opposite of being extremely direct. If I say to you, you feel your hands getting numb, your hands are getting numb, that's not being artfully vague. But Erickson would say very subtle things like, and you may begin to notice a change in sensations in your hands, or you may just notice a numbness creeping in through your, whatever. He's offering options, and he might even say things like, that feeling that you begin to understand right now, that is so freaking vague. It's going to mean a different thing to everybody who hears it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do a simple exercise. Absolutely, I did. It's my new word whisker, I guess.
Can't stop saying it.
So if you were to imagine saying something very specific, like he went down to the tool shed, picked up the hammer, and banged that nail into the wall. Well, that's a very specific way. So how can we say that just as a practice exercise in a super vague way?
Well, the item that he discovered external to his situation was completely appropriate when utilized in the way that it was meant to be used.
Okay, so artfully vague language causes the subject to have to work a little bit harder. They're not consciously aware of this, but
they're attaching the meaning themselves. The subject is going internal and making sense of this based on their own beliefs, their perceptual filters, their life experience, and so on.
And if you think about in hypnosis, we have this model of the 7 plus or minus 2 conscious bits of information that people can keep track of. Well, if you're causing them, let's call it a mental tax, to chase the meaning of what you're saying, attaching meaning to this artfully vague language. And we don't mean in a weird way. Like you can do this in a very weird way, or you can do it in a very subtle way.
Don't do the weird way.
Don't do the weird way. you're causing them to have to use some of that mental capacity to chase the meaning, attach meaning.
To make sense of what you're saying, because there are certain words that will have a very specific effect, and there's other words that are wide open. It will depend on the person hearing them.
So that's sort of like the metaphorical basket of how you do Ericksonian hypnosis, and then it's about the specific words and the things that you're doing that make it useful. Because all we're doing with the artfully vague language is we're creating them this sense of having to attach meaning and chase the never-ending changing meaning. But what are you actually doing with the language? Well, you want to talk about offering back language?
You want to use their exact words, and that's very Milton Erickson. The person would say, I've been feeling a little blue lately. He wouldn't say, you're depressed. Well, he could. He was a psychiatrist. But he would say, a little blue. By offering the person's exact words back, it creates a very powerful rapport and a feeling of being listened to and understood. So when we teach therapists, we teach them, person says, oh, I'm really fed up with life. I don't like the way things are working. Now you can put them in a different order and say the same thing and say, you don't like the way things are working. I get a sense that you're fed up with life. And they go, yes. How do you know? Well, you just freaking told me, but you don't point that out. You don't change it. You don't interpret. Oh, I'm feeling a little down lately. I'm unhappy. Oh, I know you're feeling depressed. I didn't say depressed. What are you talking about? Use their actual language, and that's very, very powerful in opening hypnotic loops.
And it doesn't have to be done immediately. You can save those words into your little memory bank.
Use them later.
And draw them into your Ericksonian language that you're constructing later, and that'll work just as well.
Yes. Now, another thing you can do is Erickson didn't necessarily nail points down. He'd offer possibilities and options. You may discover that you're relaxing even more now, or you can notice simply that your muscles are softening out and you're sinking into that chair. He's offering things that all sort of mean the same thing. The person goes, yeah, my muscles are softening now. Yeah.
And we talk about the concept of pacing and leading, and that's the pacing part of this is saying stuff that must be possible, it must be an option, or it must be actually true in the experience right now.
Sure, you could say you can feel that chair underneath you.
If the person's sitting, they can definitely feel the chair beneath them.
You can be aware of your breathing. Yeah,
they can be. It doesn't mean that they were at that moment until you said it.
But by offering that, they're going to go, and you're pacing their experience, and now you can begin to lead them in a different direction. And as you feel the chair under you, and notice your breathing, and that sensation of your hands resting on your legs, it's simple for you to fall into a trance now. You're pacing, and then leading them somewhere else.
All right, so we're going to cover one more important point about Ericksonian hypnotic language patterns, and then we'll dive into teaching you how to actually go about learning this stuff. So let's talk about causing internal searches.
Well, we presume as NLP practitioners and hypnotists that people have all the resources they need to fix things or to change things dramatically. This kind of vague language, this kind of internal direction enables people to find the resources and find ways to attach them to the situations in their life where they're needed. It enables people to do unconscious internal searches, which are extremely fast.
Okay, so now let's shift gears and say, how do you learn this stuff? Let's talk about this. So first, the obvious thing back in the day when we were learning this stuff, and I'm 47 now, so that was quite a long time ago that I was learning this, back before the days of audible.com and YouTube and all this stuff. Books. So we picked two in advance, right?
Yeah, two great ones.
The ones that we think are, I'm going to even start, let's start with this one here, Mike, okay?
Absolute classic book.
Hold this one right up. This is Patterns
of the... Are we getting glare on that?
We are. Here. Patterns of the Hypnotic Techniques of Milton H. Erickson, Volume 1. There is a second volume.
And again, this is Richard Bandler and John Grinder. John Grinder was one of my teachers, an amazing mentor in the brief time that I spent with him. This is a book where Bandler and Grinder sat with Erickson sometimes 3 days at a time and listened to him work with clients. John Grinder, being a linguist, was able to break down the language patterns and understand how he was causing such phenomenal change.
So there's, I'm not sure if this is going to be easy to see, but you see the two-column layout that we're using here? So you'll see an actual transcript of Erickson doing Erickson's work, and then you'll see commentary along the side. What's going on? And it'll help you understand it. So that's definitely phenomenal one way. The other book to mention, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, Hypnotic Realities. This has to be on the list. This is Milton Erickson and Ernest Rossi, who really was one of the proteges of Erickson. The interesting thing about this book is, again, you're seeing Erickson work with people hypnotically and Rossi as a psychologist is deconstructing and putting in his comments in in an open discussion with Erickson as this is ongoing.
Yeah.
So they're both phenomenal books. They make excellent reading. They're great to read with a highlighter, and you can learn a lot of Milton's patterns by doing this.
Now, that was the way to start when we were younger. Here's the thing, though. It's a little bit boring sometimes to read through this material, especially before you have a bit of a background. So I recommend you build a strong background using some of the more modern and fun tools, then pick up those books and read them.
Right, and here's the metaphor. You know, if you want to learn to swim, you can read books about swimming and go, oh, that's interesting, then I'll do this with my arms. Or you can get right in the water and start swimming with some direction, and that's what these tools will do.
Absolutely. So the tools...
You said absolutely.
Yeah, you're right, I did. Oh, that's here. Let's ring the bell. There we go. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, here are two ways, and together, these are what I will call the ultimate hypnotic language pattern. The ultimate hypnotic language pattern toolbox. One is free, one is very, very low cost. Let's start with the free one.
Well, the free one is the thing we call NUVI. It's a course we came up with that actually teaches you how to generate hypnotic language patterns on the fly.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we have a link in the description under this video so that you can sign up for our free class. It's called NUVI, N-U-V-I. You'll learn why it's called that when you sign up for the free class, but it's going to teach you what we'll call the carrier wave behind Ericksonian hypnosis, and that is the way to talk in a never-ending sentence.
And this is about a 45-minute training, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not a certification program. It's not an advanced training in hypnosis. It's the fundamentals of how hypnosis works and how to do Ericksonian hypnotic language in the form of this structure, the never-ending sentence. Now, I'll say that's the structure, right? Because there's all kinds of things that you can do within the structure.
You drop different things into that structure.
Those are the patterns.
Right.
So the free course we have for you is on conversational hypnosis structure. Now, the paid resource, low cost, comes out of the history of cards, right? These decks of cards.
People have used flashcards for years for teaching all sorts of things. And a number of years ago, maybe more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, these cards were called Zebu. And Zebu cards had a different hypnotic language pattern on each card. You could play a game of cards with them, and you're all practicing the patterns, saying them out loud as you're playing. And it's hilarious and fun to use, or you could carry one or two cards with you and use those patterns through the day. Zebu were great.
They were the original.
They were the original. They disappeared. If you could find them, some were like 60, 80 bucks a deck.
You'll probably still find them. I think they may be sold somewhere online, but they're relatively expensive. Of course, they're great. They're fantastic.
Yep.
We recommended them to our students for years, and then we weren't able to recommend them anymore.
So we
they're hard to
started
buy,
recommending Jamie Smart's cards,
which I actually own.
Yeah, this is a deck of salad cards. These are Jamie Smart's an excellent NLP hypnosis trainer. His cards, he has them for all kinds of things, NLP, for Ericksonian hypnosis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're a great way of moving beyond Zebu to a more modern version that he has crafted very, very nicely. And again, you can carry them with you anywhere.
Again, excellent cards, but he sold his company, and I don't think these cards are very easy to buy. And if you can buy them, they're certainly not low cost.
No, because you can buy, you want to buy all the decks probably.
So one day I came to you and I said, buddy, we've got to create our own deck using our own content, our own ideas. And we did, and we created Mike Mandel Hypnosis Hypnotic Language
I've got some
cards.
too.
Oh, they're really glary.
Yeah, well, you got the plastic on those.
Anyway, we sell them. We basically decided we'll make our own deck of cards branded after our business. They are not a for-profit item. So like right now, at the time we're publishing this video, we sell them for a few dollars, and they come with free shipping anywhere in the world.
Free shipping anywhere in the world. Now, realize too, we didn't copy Zebu. We didn't copy Jamie Smart. We never steal people's stuff. We always credit people when we use their material.
We recommend them all.
We recommend them all. What we did was we got the concept of hypnotic language cards. We knew what they were, and we reverse engineered them. What are the patterns we use in our regular hypnosis trainings and so on? And we put our patterns in. So there will be some overlap, but it won't be exactly the same.
Exactly. The principles come out of Ericksonian hypnotic language. So the real reason we're mentioning all this is you can go and get the books. But if you start with our course, the NUVI course, N-U-V-I, it's free. You'll find the link in the description. And if you also pick up a deck of either our cards or anyone else's cards, or you can just Google language patterns and learn them on your own if you want, but this is a very easy way to do it for a few dollars in your hands, then what you have is the structure of the never-ending sentence and the patterns that you can
drop into the never-ending sentence. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you practice this stuff?
Well, I said you can carry the cards with you, carry 1 or 2 cards, work them into your conversation, see how influential you can be as a result. If you're a professional speaker, you can work these into your talks, as I have done, and you can even practice them. Once you've got a few patterns down, just talk them. Talk them as you're in the shower. You know, Chris said, say them to the shampoo bottle as you're washing your hair.
There you go.
And it used to be that if I would practice them in the car driving, but people would look at me like I was insane.
Back in the days before Bluetooth.
Yeah, now with Bluetooth, everyone just assumes you're on the phone. So just drive, and you're saying as you recognize that deep understanding of the levels of your unconscious. You're doing all of this stuff while you're driving.
Or while you're walking down the street. Throw your AirPods in, or earpods, or whatever you want to call them these days, as if you're on the phone, right? And you're just having a conversation with someone. You can even hold the phone to your ear if you wish, to pretend you're having a conversation, and you're practicing hypnotic language down the street. So you're practicing the structure, which we call a never-ending sentence. That's in the free course. And then you're also practicing dropping in the patterns of hypnotic language, which you can get from the cards or the books or a web search or whatever you want. And that's the best way. Basically, once you've got those things, it's up to you. You practice, and you will soon discover that these patterns and these structures...
They create an Ericksonian language generator in the structure of your brain, Broca's area, Wernicke's area, whichever one it is, and it will become automatic, and you can do it on the fly anytime.
Right. Just like when you were a kid and you suddenly realized you know how to talk whatever language you were talking, English or French or whatever you grew up learning, you suddenly realized, hey, I can speak. That's what you'll have with Ericksonian Hypnotic Language.
That's
so,
right.
Hope you enjoyed this video.
I did.
Make sure you ring the bell after you click the subscribe button on YouTube, so you're subscribed to our channel. Ring the bell so you're always notified of our new videos. And drop us a comment. We want to know what you think about the methods for learning hypnotic language patterns. What are some of your favorites? If you have other tools to suggest, drop a comment, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, and good night.